So in this part of the session, we're going to come down onto the floor and we're going to just be looking at the hips, movement in the hips, to really sort of generate some flexibility. And essentially in a sort of lying down position, we're going to be doing this. But when we do it lying on the back, it's requires less balance. It's always a good idea. So just finding the floor, and if you want to use a chair to get down, that's absolutely fine. Just whichever way suits you. And so finding this comfortable position on the floor, and you can see that both of my knees are bent, the soles of the feet are down on the floor, and I'm just placing the hands onto the belly. And from there, just bringing the right knee in towards the chest. And I'm going to straighten that leg, straighten that right leg as much as is comfortably possible, and then lower that leg down. Just lower it down nice and slow. And then bringing that knee to the foot towards the buttock, knee towards the chest, and then straighten before lowering down. So we're going to do 5 of these movements on each leg. So nice and slow. And the slower you go, the more you're sort of working the muscles, supporting this movement. So we can do 5 in about 5 seconds if you wanted to, but what's the rush? What is the rush? Just take it nice and slowly and just feeling the abdomen working, feeling the lower back pressing in towards the ground. And I think I'll make this my last movement on this, going this way around. And then bringing that leg up vertically. And then we're going to reverse that cycle. So bending the knee and then straightening the leg out. But you'll notice my foot is hovering off the floor. It's not touching the floor. So we're continuing to move to use that strength in the hip and in the abdomen. So we straighten the leg out and then bring it up nice and slowly. So that's really good. Just really focusing on this movement, how it feels in that leg and in the hip. And just making this your last one. And then release that down, foot comes down. Just taking a couple of moments to really tune into how that leg feels compared to the other one that hasn't done the movement yet. So just feeling into that. So the heat, the energy, is there any fizzing going on? What is your experience with this right now? And then I'm going to come onto the other side. Maybe actually before you do so, maybe you want to straighten both legs and just giving the whole body a really nice stretch, nice lengthen. Right side, left side. So right heel presses away at the right fingertips, and then the left heel and the left fingertips press. And then just bringing the feet back towards the body. So not too close, remember, it's just give them a bit of space. It's all about space after all, isn't it? And then from there, raising that right knee towards the chest. And then straightening, the left knee towards the chest, the opposite knee to the one you've just done. I get very confused with my rights and lefts. And then straighten that leg up. And then we're going to lower that leg all the way down, nicely controlled. Do about 5 this way around. So as the foot comes back towards the body, it's hovering off the ground. The knee comes into the chest. The leg straightens. And just continue with that movement. And yoga as well is about coordinating things. So if you wanted to, you can start to coordinate this movement with the breath. So generally speaking, as the body is opening up, you're inhaling. And as the body is closing down, it's an exhalation. So if you think about it, as the knee comes in towards the chest, and it's quite difficult to, and not natural really, to inhale at that point. It's an exhalation. And then as the leg comes up and opens, and that's the inhalation part. So just tuning into that breath. And it's all about really focusing the mind. It gets the mind to concentrate, to learn to concentrate on things. And if it's got 2 things to concentrate on at once, like the breath and the movements, then maybe we're not thinking as much about what we're going to cook for tea tonight. If you can do that as well, then I don't know whether that's a good or bad thing, to be honest. And then next time the foot is towards the body and the leg is straight, we're going to lower it down, lower that foot down, and then coming down, straightening it along the floor, but hovering off the floor, and then nicely easing up, bending that knee, straightening that leg, hovering off the ground. Straight leg comes up, or the straight-ish leg comes up if that's the straight leg isn't accessible. It's all about really feeling into the body. How does that movement suit you? So there's always going to be somebody who's more flexible and less flexible. So there's no real point in comparing yourself with anybody, really. But we always do it. Why do we always do that? Who knows? Anyway. And then from there, next time the leg is vertical, I'm going to just bring it to a straight position and just tuning into how that leg feels. Now, the heat in that leg. And we're going to just straighten the legs out, straighten the arms out, opening up the body. Stretching off right side, left side, finding that length, lifting up through the chest, giving yourself a little smile. Go on. What have you got to lose? And then just to move this on now into the second part of this little sequence. So we're doing it on either side. And just going to bring, so left foot flat on the floor, bringing the right knee in towards the chest. And this time we're going to let that right knee come out to the side and then straighten that leg as much as is comfortable for you. So this is this breaststroke type movement. So straight leg, and then the knee comes in towards the body, and then the knee comes out to the side. So really it's approximating a circular movement with that knee. And it's a movement of the knee which causes that movement in the hip. So we're really interested in that hip movement and the range of movement in that hip that we can have as well. And just going as far as is comfortable for you. Don't be trying to open up too far now, just exploring your own personal edge of this, your own sort of comfort zone, maybe going a little bit beyond it. But if it's too much, then ease back. Always listen to the body, not to the ego, which is saying, I want more. Then next time the knee is in towards the body, we're going to straighten the leg along the ground, hovering the foot off the ground, and then just reverse that movement. So we're circling the knee and circling the hip in the opposite direction. It's looking good. And if there's any rocky roads, any resistance, and just go ever so carefully through that, maybe back off a little bit. So we don't want to be just rubbing the bones together. This is all about lubricating the joints rather than crunching them together. So once we've done 5 on each rotation, we're going to move on to the other side. But again, let's just pause for a moment, see how that hip is feeling that we've just done the work on. Maybe giving yourself a little cheeky stretch off. That's quite nice to do. Noticing the energy in the hip joint. Any fizzing, any heat. A lot of people after these sessions, especially the day after, they tell me that they get it's a nice ache they feel. It's a nice kind of, it's something quite pleasant about that. It's not too strong, but it's noticeable, even with some of the more gentle type of movements. So from here, let's come on to the opposite side. So I started on my right, so I'm coming on to my left. So left knee comes into the chest, out to the side, and straighten that leg. So just imagine you're doing sort of breaststroke on your back, circling the knee and circling the hip round. So about 5 times in both directions. So you can either have the eyes open or you could close them if you wanted to, just bring the awareness inside a little bit. So we're not doing this mindlessly, we're just remaining interested in this range of movement. And now, how is this other hip moving compared to the first one? Is there a bigger range of movement? Is there a smaller range? Is there a bit of a rocky road in this one where there wasn't in the other? And then once you've done 5 in one direction, we're going to straighten the leg and just go in the opposite direction. So opposite circling of the hip joint and the knee. Again, finding that breath if you can. The main thing is to breathe, so don't be holding the breath in any way. But if you can coordinate the breath with this movement, then that's good, that's fine. So once we've done about 5, I always lose count. So never mind me. And just bringing that foot down onto the floor. And once more, opening up the body. Really nice. Right side, left side, opening up. And just feeling into the hips, the hip that you've just done that movement on. And then really both hips. How does that feel? And to get up from this position, You can either roll over onto your right hand side, or if you want to try another way, is you can just place the hands underneath the lower back, palms facing down, and then press the hands and the elbows into the floor, and then come into a simple seated position.